I have a theory about the Wonder Man Disney Plus series, and it involves the actual identity of Ralph Bohner. I think I finally figured out who this little rascal is. So to refresh everybody's memory, Evan Peters was playing Ralph Bohner in WandaVision when everyone thought he was actually Quicksilver from the Fox universe, which sounds like another reveal that pissed people off. More on that later. But I know I'm not the only one that thinks Ralph Bohner is a stupid name. Who would ever name their kid that? It sounds more like a name for witness protection, and I think he's who Jimmy Woo was looking for in witness protection. Now, who do I think he is? I think he's going to be playing Eric Williams, otherwise known as the villainous Grim Reaper, and brother of Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. In the comics, Eric and Simon Williams are children of a big business owner who also rivals Stark Industries. More on that in a second. But in the comics, Eric Williams always hated his family dynamic because his parents loved Simon more than him. This led Eric to distancing himself from his family very early on. He decides to join the Magia crime family, which you'll recognize as a classic Spider-Man villain, who, yes, Hammerhead is a part of. And this leaves Simon in charge of his family's company. Now, yes, I know they race-bented Simon Williams a little bit. You're probably wondering how these two could be brothers, to which I say, use your brain. I personally think a compelling story would be Simon Williams was adopted and Eric Williams was the biological child, so his biological parents would end up loving the adopted child more. I think this would be so compelling and make for a great villain turn later on. Now, my theory is instead of Eric joining the Magia, since I'm pretty sure Sony owns the rights to the Magia crime family, I'll have him join the 10 Rings instead, since thanks to Ant-Man, we knew that they had sleeper cells all over the world. In the comics, the way Simon Williams becomes Wonder Man is because he starts embezzling money through his brother and the Magia crime family, which leads to him getting caught, his family's company going under, and landing Simon Williams in jail, where he grows resentment for Stark. I'll pretty much keep this all the same in the MCU, except replacing the Magia with the 10 Rings, so he embezzles money through the 10 Rings, which lands Simon in jail, and Eric Williams in witness protection, where he is now Ralph Bohner. This also would explain why Jimmy Woo from the West Coast was out on the East Coast. On the comics, while Simon Williams is in jail, he meets Baron Zemo. In exchange to get broken out, he agrees to be experimented on, which leads to him becoming Wonder Man. Simon realizes that Zemo's evil, the Avengers are good, and ends up sacrificing himself to stop Zemo. Eric Williams, hearing about this, vows his vengeance against the Avengers and making himself into the villainous Grim Reaper. I have a really hard time seeing Zemo creating Wonder Man in the MCU, and this is actually how I think the Wonder Man series is going to start. With Simon Williams out of jail after all of these years, trying to become an actor but actually ended up being a stuntman. I think his manager is actually going to be the one that turns him into Wonder Man somehow, since we know Bob Odenkirk is going to end up being his manager. I'm assuming some type of on-set accident. I'm not entirely sure yet. That's still a theory that I need to hash out. Now, before he turns into Wonder Man, obviously I think Eric Williams is going to play a huge part in helping Simon Williams get back on his feet, which is why he's an actor. They suggest going to Hollywood, and then Simon becomes Wonder Man after the accident. This is also how we tie Trevor Slattery back into the Wonder Man series, since he was a part of the 10 Rings as well. Probably good friends with Ralph Bohner, Eric. This is where I think Vision Quest ties in, because using Simon Williams' brainwaves, Vision is reborn. And with Eric thinking his brother is dead, he turns into the Grim Reaper. Instead of the Avengers, vows his revenge on the Vision and the Scarlet Witch, which leads to the revival of Simon Williams, giving us a love triangle between the Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Wonder Man, and eventually leading into a West Coast Avengers project. And don't forget, the director of Shang-Chi is going to be producing this show too.